If you're not telling that story of what you are bringing to the table, no one's going to tell it for you. So next time you're giving a presentation or sharing a deliverable or talking about a project that you worked on, I want you to ask yourself, what skills, what expertise, what special sauce did I bring to this project? And then I want you to ask yourself, and how is my audience going to benefit as a result? Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the Art of Speaking Up podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Today, you're going to be learning a bit of an advanced communication skill. I'm going to be teaching you how to get credit for your impact and how to basically talk yourself up and show people how amazing your work is without you coming off as you're bragging. And this is a really important fine line that we have to learn to walk if we want to be successful in the corporate space. On the one hand, we need to be able to show people why we are good and why our work is good. If we don't tell that story and we don't hammer home that narrative, other people around us will, and they will get ahead of us faster within the organization. So it's very important that you are actively talking about why your work is good and how you are having positive impact. On the other hand, though, we don't want to come off as cocky or we don't want to sound like we're bragging. We still want people to feel like we are collaborative. We want people to feel like we have great interpersonal skills. We want people to like us. And there's a really fine art to walking this line where you're being super confident and you're showing people the value of your work and of your contributions, but you're doing it in a way where you're still very likable, where people still feel very inspired by you as a leader. That's the skill that I'm teaching you in today's episode. So I'm going to be teaching you one of my signature frameworks. It's called the Me-You framework. And you're going to use this framework to highlight how good you are without sounding cocky or like you are bragging. And I want to kick off the learning process with an example. This will help you really learn and internalize the framework. Here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine that you have an open headcount on your team and you are interviewing people to fill the spot. You are down to your final 2 candidates and you're trying to decide which of them you're going to hire. Now, in the interview, you asked both candidates the same question. You asked them, tell me about your skill set and what you would bring to the team. Now, I'm going to read you the 2 answers that each candidate gave. And as I'm reading the answers, I want you to be thinking in your mind, which of these 2 candidates do I want to hire? So here's what candidate 1 said when you asked them what skills they'd bring to the team. They said, I'm a sharp problem solver, I move quickly, and I have deep expertise in this subject matter. Candidate number 2 said, I'm a sharp problem solver. You can give me something messy and I'll get it done for you. I move quickly so I can help you hit some of those tight deadlines that you're under. I have deep expertise in the subject matter, so when you hand off a project to me, I can take on the execution and you won't have to spend a ton of time on it. Okay, so my question to you is, which of these 2 candidates are you going to hire and why? So I'm going to give you my answer to this question. My answer is hands down candidate number 2. And I want to take a minute to talk through why, and I want to break down why candidate 2 has such an effective answer, because that's going to be at the core of everything I'm teaching you in today's episode. So, something that is super interesting about candidate 1 versus candidate 2 is that when they answered the interview question, they both highlighted the same 3 skills. They both highlighted their problem solving, their speed and agility, and their subject matter expertise. Both candidates talked about that. However, candidate 2 gave an answer that was not only more compelling, but also made them more likable. And there's one thing that they did that helped them be both compelling and likable at the same time. And that is that every time they talked about themselves, they immediately flipped it back to talking about you and how they would be helpful to you. So I'm going to read their answer back to you, and I want you to hear how in each part of their answer, anytime they talk about themselves, they talk about you. So let's listen to it together. They said, "I'm a sharp problem solver. You can give me something messy and I'll get it done for you. I move quickly so I can help you hit some of your tighter deadlines. I have subject matter expertise, so when you hand something off to me, I can take it over and you won't have to spend a lot of time on it." As you can see, anytime this candidate talks about why they are amazing, they flip it back and explain how that is going to make things better for you. This has 2 really positive impacts. Number 1, it makes them look good, but number 2, it makes you imagine yourself looking good. You imagine how good you will look when you hire this candidate and they are doing all of this amazing work for you. So when you come away from that interview, you're not thinking, oh, they were so cocky. They just talked about how great they are. No. You're thinking, oh my gosh, they're awesome. They're going to help me so much. I am so excited. And this illustrates a really important and powerful communication principle, which is that when we redirect the focus back to our audience and we talk about how they're going to win and they're going to succeed and they're going to be the hero, that causes our audience to have positive feelings about us. So just like this interview candidate helped you feel positively about yourself because you imagined all of the success that you would experience with their help, similarly, anytime we are leading a meeting or giving a presentation or talking to executives, if we show them how we are going to help them succeed, they're going to immediately like us more. And this brings me to the core principle behind the framework that I'm going to be teaching you today, which is that if you want to talk about your impact and highlight the amazing benefits that come from your work, but you don't want to brag and you don't want to sound cocky, the secret to doing that is to always bring it back to how your impact and your work and your genius benefits your audience. And that brings me to a core framework that I want you to remember and memorize and use for the rest of your career. And it is called the Me-You framework. This is a framework that I have created, and this is the framework that candidate number 2 used in their interview answer. The Me-You framework is a very simple framework that you will use when you are sharing your wins. So anytime you're sharing a deliverable that you did, a milestone that you hit, like something great that you did within your company, that is a key moment for you to use the Me-You framework. So let me tell you how to use this framework and let me share some examples with you. So the first part of the Me-You framework is the me part. So this is where you're talking about yourself, me, and all of the amazing outcomes that you have created. But just like interviewee number 2 took each of their skills and then tied it back to how it would benefit the person who is hiring, similarly, when you use the me-you framework, after you hit on the me and talk about why your work is amazing, you flip it back to the you and you share with your audience why your work is going to benefit them. So first you talk about yourself and how great you are and how great your work is. And then you flip it back and talk about how great it's going to be for them. That's why it's called me, you, because we start with me and then we pivot to you. Now, the best way for you to learn this is for me to share a couple of examples with you. So I'm going to share some examples of what this would look like in a work setting. First, I'm going to share the me part, and then I'm going to share the you part. Okay, so in this first example, this is someone talking about how they just finalized a big partnership deal within their company. This first part is the me part. This person said, I used my knowledge and experience within this industry to help shape a favorable deal with this partner. That's the me part because they're talking about their knowledge and their experience. But then they would flip it and they would hit on the you part. And then they could say, this helped me craft a partnership deal that is going to be beneficial to your teams. Let me walk you through how. So that's the you part. That's where I flip it around and say, hey, here's how my expertise is going to benefit you and your teams. Let's do another example. So for this next example, this is an example of someone who just finished launching a brand new product. Here's the me part. They would say, I used my team's research and expertise on customer preferences to develop product features that will resonate with our customers. Now, here's the you part. Because of this, we're seeing that this product is driving real growth in our customer acquisition. So in this example, I opened with the me and I talked about how my team has expertise and research that they leveraged. And then I flip it around to the you. And I talk about how the product is now driving growth in our customer base, which is something that my audience is going to be very excited about. This me-you framework is really important for you to be using because if you're not telling that story of what you are bringing to the table, no one's going to tell it for you. We have to be the ones who are the originators of our story. If we want executives to have thoughts about us and about our capability, we have to tell them what thoughts to think about us by sharing these stories. The good news is you don't have to come off cocky because when you use the me-you framework, you balance things out by bringing the focus back to your audience. And the beautiful thing about this is when you bring the focus back to them, it doesn't detract from how good you look. It increases how good you look. I really want you to go back to the example of interviewing the 2 candidates. The second candidate brought it back to you every single time. And I don't think that you would leave that interview thinking less of that candidate because of that. You leave the interview thinking more of that candidate because of that. And this is one of the beautiful things about the me-you framework. We get to highlight our audience and make them a hero, and it doesn't take away from us at all. There is more than enough celebration and goodwill for everyone in the room to feel like they're doing an amazing job without it detracting from how powerful and impactful you look as a leader. So next time you're giving a presentation or sharing a deliverable or talking about a project that you worked on, I want you to ask yourself, what skills, what expertise, what special sauce did I bring to this project? And then I want you to ask yourself, and how is my audience going to benefit as a result? The answer to those 2 questions will be how you will use the me-you framework in your talking points. So that brings me to the end of today's episode. This was a quick one. If you got value from this and found it helpful, please share it with a friend or a coworker who is also working on up-leveling their communication skills. And if you want even more specific advice from me and you find these specific frameworks very useful, you are going to love my free worksheet called 5 Phrases to Help You Sound Like a Leader. This worksheet lists out 5 specific phrases that will help you have more gravitas and stronger executive presence when you are speaking at work. For each of the phrases, I teach you how to use it, and I even give you mindset reframes to help you feel confident enough on the inside to say these phrases outwardly. Because using these phrases and speaking in this way isn't just about knowing what to say, it's also about feeling strong and confident enough inside to actually say it. To grab this free worksheet, click the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.